Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight on page 55 of the Kashyap Sutras, which is included in the book Shrima, the Guru and the Goddess. We're going to begin the discussion of Sutra number 8. And Sutra number 8 says, Pashas Chedanena Sadashivatvam. And that's really cool. I mean, this is good information for us. Pashas. Pasha is the bonds, like the net or the bond, that which binds us to pashu behavior, to the lower worlds. The pasha is the bond. And let's see what he said last time. Pasha means a bondage or bond. Great minds seldom disagree. It also means a net. I said that. Hey, Nanda, neti. We have seen the Nagpash, which is a divine weapon which can bind any opponent in battle. And Mother says that egotism is one form of bondage. It is the greatest bondage because along with egotism comes the bondage of individual limitations, what we call the ripus. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Moda, Matsarya. So these are the individual limitations. These are the enemies of the soul, the generals in the army of the great ego. Kam means desire. Krodh means anger. Lobh is greed. Moh is ignorance. And Moda, the attachment. Born of ignorance. Because of my ignorance, I attach myself to different things which I think are important to me, and actually they're probably transient, and I attach myself to the transitory nature of creation. And say, please don't change. I like everything the way I like it. I like it the way it is. I want it fit to my order. And obviously, we're going to be disappointed because it's going to be according to her order, Shokole Tumar Icha. It's all according to your desire, not mine. So we have, and Matsarya means jealousy. So I become jealous and angry because I can't have my desire fulfilled in the way I want it fulfilled because of my ignorant attachment to the transitory nature of creation. And these 6 limitations are the great pash, or the bondage of the ego. These are the ripus, the bonds of egotism and attachment. So our sutra says Pashas Chedanena. And in Sanskrit grammar, this is in the instrumental case. Chedanena by means of or with. Pashas Chedanena. Chedan is the same root as chand. Chandi. To tear apart, to cut asunder, to sever. The severance, the cutting apart, the tearing apart, the cutting of all bonds. Chedanena means cutting asunder. Ena means with or by means of. And Chedanena is by means of cutting the bondage. Shiva, Sada Shiva Tvam. Sada Shivatvam, a little bit different from Shivatvam. Sada Shivatvam. Shivatvam is the attainment of Shiva. It's the accusative case. It's what you get. We've procured, acquired, attained to Shiva. Sada, eternal. Or the eternal attainment of Shiva. Or the attainment of the eternal Shiva. We define Shiva as the consciousness of infinite goodness by cutting bondage. We attain to the eternal consciousness of infinite goodness. Pretty good tattva. Very nice sutra. Very good principle for us to remember. By cutting the cords of attachments, we attain to the eternal, blissful consciousness I mean, as long as we're bound, we're always struggling to escape. How can we be blissful if we're trying to escape from our present circumstance? So by cutting all the bonds, we become liberated. And liberation is a lot of fun. It is the attainment of the eternal Shiva, or it is the eternal attainment of Shiva, or it is the attainment of Shiva eternally. How do we maintain the highest ability in every action, the highest efficiency, the highest motivation, the highest elevation or illumination? How do we attain to the best in every action, the best that we can possibly perform? We are not seeking communion only at the time of puja or worship, although that would be nice. But in each and every breath, in each and every activity. It does not matter whether we are digging a ditch, or teaching in school, appearing in court, negotiating a contract, or sitting at the fire. How do we give the most? The very best performance that we can? How do we attain our dharma, our ideal of perfection? There must be Dhyan, Bhakti, and karma. We know this intellectually, but how do we keep it with us throughout every action? Pasyas chedanena, by means of cutting all the bonds of attachment, of ego. Sada Shivatvam, we attain to the highest, the eternal consciousness of infinite goodness. When you maintain awareness of your true being, your true existence, your illumination is a beautiful contribution, and you will attain the wisdom and bliss of Shiva. Ma says that from your devotion, wisdom will be illuminated. Bhavile bhavir udaya. From your bhava, from your devotion, that wisdom, that bhavana, that intensity of reality will become the prakash, the illumination. This sutra has established a very clear definition of our goal. It doesn't propose to tell us the way to attain this. It just says by cutting asunder all of our bonds, we reach the supreme consciousness. Ma remembers the story of Shukdev, especially where Janak said to Shukdev, even if you go into the forest with one stick, one asan, and one begging bowl, if you maintain attachment, you will constantly be thinking about your possessions. Whereas if you are free from attachment, you can rule a kingdom as vast as Mithila, and your mind will never be disturbed. If you have attachment, you take one stick into the forest and think, where is my stick? There's a whole forest full of sticks, and I'm thinking about my stick. And my asan, where am I going to sit? I know I'm going to put some leaves on the ground and put some grass over the leaves and maybe cover it with a skin or a blanket. Where's my asan? Where's my begging bowl? I know I can take a coconut, I can take a shell, I can take a husk, I can take something, I can even drink from the palm of my hand, but I'm thinking about my water pot. Whereas if you are free from attachment, you can rule over Mithila, the whole kingdom of Mithila, and never worry about the objects of your attachments. You have no attachment. Why would you worry? You are the custodian of the people's wealth. That's what a ruler is. He's a sannyasi who sits on a throne. What does he care about the throne? Great story. Little digression. Great story. Sannyasi came to the kingdom, and he gave such wisdom and such love and such generosity. And all the people of the kingdom said, "Oh, Sadhu Baba, You please be our king. What an honor to have such wisdom to guide our nation. The sannyasi said, you better be careful what you wish for. Oh, the people said, no, Sannyasi Babaji, Sadhuji, Guruji, you please sit on the throne. We're giving you a golden crown. You will be the ruler. You will be the one to decide what happens in our kingdom. Sadhu said, okay, and he sat down on the throne, and he put on the crown, and he started giving the dictates of wisdom, and everyone knew peace and prosperity for much time had passed. One day, captain of the guard came to the king and said, King, there's an enemy army approaching our gate. They want to steal and plunder and pillage the wealth of our kingdom. Sadhu said, everyone do puja, do jap, and meditate. So everyone did puja and jap and meditated. And the captain of the guard came back a few hours later. He said, Your Highness King, the enemy army is entering the gate to the city, and they're marching right up the main street of the town. What shall we do? And the king said, everyone do puja, meditate, do your job, don't leave your dharma. Everyone sat down and did puja. A few hours later, the captain of the guard came and said, King, the army is entering into the palace. What shall we do? The sadhu picked up his begging bowl and he said, well, you should all be unattached. And he walked out. Be careful what you wish for. So by increasing your devotion, your wisdom grows. Sharing in satsang, your devotion grows. Take inspiration, cultivate it with devotion and practice. And Ma said here, tasty, so much taste. Everyone laughed when she said this. Extract the nectar from the tapasya that you are performing. Tapas literally means heat. But it implies any act of purification, because what do you do with the heat? You apply it, you purify the food, and you take all the impurities out of it, and then it's fit for consumption. So we are adding heat, which is any act of purification in which our negative tendencies are burned away. Every atom of existence is performing tapasya. Tapasya devo devata argo ayam taposhi sharvam pratishtitam tasmat tapa sreshta. It says from tapasya, all the gods initially came. Within tapasya resides the entire existence. And therefore, tasmat, therefore, tapaha, do perform your tapasya, srisht, realize the ultimate. Every atom of existence is producing some kind of movement. Protons, neutrons, electrons, quarks, there's something going on there in every atom. Okay, and there's some kind of a vibration. And every movement produces friction. And all friction creates heat. Every time there's friction, there's a heat. And heat is tapasya. So everything that moves is doing tapasya. It's creating a vibration. The vibration is creating friction. The friction is creating heat. And the heat is tapasya. And some of it's good tapasya and some of it's dumb tapasya. Some of it is motivated towards realizing the srisht, the ultimate. And some of it is just producing heat which is dissipated into the atmosphere. So some atoms are producing not so divine tapasya. But they are all producing heat. Therefore, tashma, Therefore, taposhi shadavam pratishtitam. Within tapasya resides the entire creation. Everything of the prapanch, everything that was born of 5 elements, is got some kind of movement. Every kind of movement produces some kind of vibration. All vibrations produce friction. All friction produces heat. All heat is tapasya. Taposi sarvam pratishtitam tasmat. Therefore, tapaha, do your tapasya, do divine tapasya. As long as you're going to do it anyway, you might as well apply divine heat. Like a Swami in heat. You make it sure it's divine heat. And it's putting that heat into a motivated, concentrated, focused, defined goal, rather than producing not so divine heat, which dissipates in every direction at the same time. So, in the larger perception of things, every atom is divine. I know some special atoms that are very divine, but every atom is divine. When we free ourselves from the egotism of judgment, from the discrimination which says that I am qualified to judge that this is a good atom and that is a bad atom, when we free ourselves from that bondage, then from the viewpoint of Shiv, we get to look at life from the perception of Shiv. From every atom is my atom. They are all doing tapasya. And some are learning slower, and some are learning faster. And some are cultivating better qualities and working at it harder, and some are just sort of meandering along their path to perfection. But every atom, every being, every body is doing tapasya. So the first step of cultivating devotion is participating in satsang. Seek out pure company, good associations, which will inspire you to make yourself better. Whatever inspiration you receive, take home and contemplate. Shravadam, Mananam, Nidit Asanam. Hear it, see it, perceive it, contemplate it deeply, and then meditate on it until it becomes instinctive. So you hear it, you get it once. And you think about it, you get it twice. And you meditate upon it, you get it a 3rd time. You write it down, you get it a 4th time. You read it back, you get it a 5th time. You correct the spelling and the grammar and the punctuation, and you make it a nice poetic statement, and you get it a 6th time. And after you include it into your next book, you get it, it becomes your own. And you speak from the heart instead of speaking from the book. And that's the transformation. Taposhi shadavam pratishtitam. Within the tapasya resides everything in creation. And tasmat, therefore, tapaha, do your tapasya, shreshta, realize the ultimate. And Ma says, ultimately it gets pure. You become the person that you are striving to become. You can see the progress. You can watch yourself and begin to like yourself a little bit more each time you cut a bond. You feel a little more independence, a greater freedom every time you put aside one of those bonds of attachment. Satsang is the first step, and a very important one. The more you move towards satsang, the closer you come to wise and noble thoughts. You get more contact, more examples of people who are living lives of renunciation instead of lives that are cultivating greater attachments. Then you get to come closer into the temple. First, we build the outer temple, and then we build the inner temple, and then the innermost sanctum. In the Sundarkanda Ramayana, Tulsidas wrote a very beautiful verse. Tatta swarga apavarga sukh, doriya tule ek ang. Tul nataki sakalamili, Jo shukalab satsang. Dear one, take all of the pleasures between heaven and earth and count them as one. As great a delight as that might be, it cannot possibly be as enjoyable as satsang. The satsang scale is body. It's heavier. It will drop every time. All the pleasures of heaven and earth, that's one side of the scale. Satsang is heavier every time. The pleasures of heaven and earth are transient. You'll enjoy them and they'll go away. You'll either use enjoyment, gift, or destruction. That's the three phases of any wealth you have. You'll either enjoy it and use it all up and it's gone, or you'll give it away. Somebody else will enjoy it and you'll get nothing. Or you'll watch it be destroyed. The thief will take it, the animals will eat it, someone will steal it. It will go. The transient won't remain. It is transient, it won't stay. Tat the barga apavarga suk, doria tula ikong. Tul nataki sakalamili, jo sukalaba satsang. Satsang is always heavier because it will remain with you eternally. It's sada sivatam. Pasas chedanena sada sivatam. When we, by means of cutting asunder all the bonds of our pashu behavior, of our ripus, of our limitations of egotism and attachment, kam krodho moda matsarja, these 6 enemies of the soul. By means of cutting them down asunder, we attain to the Sada Shivatvam, the eternal Shiva hood. Nice to be in the hood. As great a delight as that might be, it cannot possibly be as enjoyable as satsang. Through satsang, we have an opportunity to improve ourselves, to really make significant changes in our lives, to become the individual we respect. That sounds like the slogan of a slider I just saw. No other pleasure could be equal to becoming the person we love. I love me. Wow, what a great feeling. At least I know I have one lover, one admirer. That is why satsang is so important. We have been endowed with the responsibility of maintaining the ancient traditions by acting as an example to the next generation. We should start by increasing our recovery rate. Let's first start by cultivating enough resistance so that when we fall down, which we will, there's no law against falling down, and there's no way to prohibit it. There's no way you can stop from falling down. I mean, every kid, when they start to walk, I don't care how big a baby you were, you fell down a couple of times before you got the hang of the balance. We will fall down. It's part of the nature of natural human beings. So let's first start. Whenever we fall down, we pop right back up again. We are moving towards the ultimate goal of being so firmly rooted in faith that no one could ever shake our roots. We know that we are moving towards that, but we are not there yet. It's true. If we were there yet, we would be sitting in Nirvikalpa Samadhi saying, Brahma, 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 Brahma. And there would be no duality. Because there is duality and you are seeing me, then I must not be there. I once went to visit a sadhu who was reported to have been in Samadhi for weeks and weeks at a time. And I went up into the mountains and I climbed up to a cave, and I went to the cave and there was a sadhu sitting there. And I saw him. He didn't see me. He just sat there. And ultimately, I got tired of sitting. and waiting to be seen by someone who was totally absorbed in seeing some different reality. And I bowed down, came back down the mountain. So we know that we are moving towards that, but we're not there yet. And if we're not there yet, then we are going to fall down. When we do fall down, let's spring right back up and get right back to work again. It's not wrong to fall down. We are praying to increase our recovery rate, our flexibility. We will fall down. We know we're going to fall down. We're going to make mistakes. When we do make mistakes, let's get right back up, brush ourselves off, and get right back on the path again. Be content with small gains. Don't go for big ones right now. Even a child takes faltering steps at first. I am a little sapling, and I know that when the wind comes, I am going to bend. Every time I bend, at least let me have enough elasticity to straighten right back up again. Nothing wrong with bending. Just make sure you can spring right back to your center, just like the young tree does. One cannot say, I've got to be a tree before my tenure as a sapling is not complete. Be content with small gains. They say that when you plant a sapling, you must put a fence around it to protect it from the goats and the deer. But when it sinks its roots deep into the soil, you can tie your elephant to it without a second thought. Ma says, be like a spring. And Swami says he's more like a yo-yo. He goes down, but he comes right back up again. Can't keep a good man down, especially when he's bound to a string. You cut the bonds yourself. All the guru does is sharpen your knife. Become so strong in your faith that you never swerve from your ideal of perfection. The blessing of remembrance is knowing that we could fall at any moment. It could take a long time for us to remember and wake up. And that is why we are praying for quick recovery. Every time we fall, because we will fall, it is not wrong that we do, it is natural. So we pick ourselves up again. Let us maintain the humility to remember that we could fall at any moment. Pray for elasticity to bounce right back up again until we become fixed in the eternal consciousness of Shiva. When you see that everything is in flux, you will see that I am not. Consciousness does not change because it is always the same. The objects of awareness change. The objects of awareness can manifest various qualities. Thought only reflects nature. As you practice tapasya, your ego becomes less attached to thoughts. The thoughts are not becoming more pure. In reality, you have the same thoughts, but you have less attachment to them. Consciousness is the infinite capacity of recognition. Ma says, you are aware of the existence of a beautiful state of consciousness, but you do not know where it is. In reality, it is everywhere. Do not be foolish. Be fertile soil in which good seeds may easily take root. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Pashas Chedanena Sada Shivatva. By means of cutting asunder all the bonds, Chandi, she is the goddess who tears apart all the pashas. She tears apart, she does the Chedan. by means of chedanena, by means of tearing apart all the bonds, the repos, the limitations, the bondage to the ego, and the bondage to attachment, we attain to the eternal consciousness of infinite goodness. Let's see if there are any questions.
Swamiji,
Yes, Mom.
Paul fall down, he can get up again and he can brush himself.
Yes, he can. All of us can. There's hope for us all. But not necessarily do we come back to the exact same circumstance and say, I want a do-over. Please forget everything that happened in the past. I want to do...
Why you will think about I'll do again?
Absolutely. Why not just go forward? Say, I learned my lessons, and now I'm going to cut asunder the bonds which make me act foolishly. I'm going to relieve myself of the attachments which obscure the wisdom so that I can react to circumstances with enlightened leadership instead of bound by egotism and attachment. If I allow the emotional self to drag me into the mire of attachment, it clouds my vision, it clouds my understanding. I make stupid mistakes. I make bad choices. I forget that tapasya really, in reality, is every behavior in life. But the tapasya that we want is the tapasya, the purification, the austerities that purify me so that I make the right choices, which take me to the right goals, along the right path, to the right outcome for what I'm seeking. That's what I've defined as my path and my goal. That will be the greater wisdom. Not to say, oh, I'd like to take over, that one didn't count. So I'm going back to the same circumstances and start over where I left off. I don't think that works. Unless you give me a lobotomy and I can forget everything that just happened and start all over again. I think we are much better off to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and figure out, where am I and where am I trying to go, and now how do I plot a course to that attainment? Where lies the path so that I can reach the goal that I have defined? I don't want to say, okay, everybody forget that I was Swami stupid and I did so many dumb things and I injured everybody in the family and now oh well, I'm sorry, and let's start all over again. That won't work, Mom. I'd like to say, I got my lesson, and now I'm starting from where I'm at, and I will cultivate the new knowledge of my present goal. With present understanding, I'll brush myself off, I'll plot a new course, I'll define my goals, I'll define my path, I'll define my assets and my liabilities. I will make restitution to all those people I injured. But I can't expect that they're going to say, okay, Swami, come on back in and you can be the leader of our group. Not unless I act in accordance with the wisdom that you're expecting. If I am acting with duplicity, then you can't expect that I'm going to lead you to the good place. But if I'm acting with truth, and I am sincere, and I have a commitment, and I'm actually doing what I say I'm doing, then you can rely upon that experience. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. When you eat, you'll know how it tastes. I give the same recipe to many, many devotees. How many cook it the same way that Sriman does? How many people can prepare the same dish, even though I gave you all the measurements and how much oil and how much hing and how much salt and how much every ingredient? The proof is in, does it taste like Sriman's or not? You'll understand immediately, one bite. Did you cook it the way it said in the book? Let's see if there are any questions.
We have a question from Vivekananda.
Namaste, Vivek.
Namaste. How do we maintain or attain in the first place non-attachment to things that we need to perform our actions, like car keys, wallets, iPads, books for puja? When and if we lose these things, our minds become disturbed and we suffer. How do we understand non-attachment to these items?
Why would you want to be unattached to those items which are the tools which you are using in the daily performance of your life? Practice non-attachment first with the things that are not tools in the daily performance of your life. That's the discrimination which Vivek, Alamba, the bliss of discrimination, will teach us. There is nothing wrong with being attached to your wife. It's a very beautiful thing. But if you're attached to his wife, you're going to get into trouble. And so is she. And you're going to bring only trouble to the whole family. So the first step, Vivek, is not to say, how can I not be attached to my keys? How can I not be attached to his keys? Why don't I just confine myself to the items that I need in my sphere of influence, in my sphere of interaction, where I'm going? I need these tools because they work for me. I don't want to say, oh, I'm not attached, I'm a sadhu, so therefore I don't need to remember where I put my keys. You will be late to every appointment. You'll get everybody angry with you. There will be no value in it at all. No one will call you sadhu. They'll call you sadhu if you say, oh, I know where the keys are. I'll drive the car and get to my destination on time, on budget. So the first step, Vivek, will not be, oh, I don't want to be attached to anything. The first step is, I want to limit the sphere of my attachment to the things or the objects and relationships which are appropriate for me to be attached to. And thereafter, I can eliminate all the other things. I've got to maintain my tools because they work for me. I saw one craftsman, very efficient. He had a toolbox that wouldn't quit. And every tool in his box had a place. And every size screw and every nut and every bolt and every washer had a little compartment. And everything was so neatly organized. And I looked at his toolbox. And he came out on the job. I saw after he was done working, he wiped off every tool and he took all the extra screws and nuts and bolts and he put them right into the exact compartment where they belong. I know other people who use the tools and leave them in the garden. They throw them in the shed. They throw the hammer across the room. It doesn't make any difference.
It comes from respect.
It comes from respecting your action. You're exactly right, Srima. And this man was a craftsman. He saved so much time by maintaining his organization as he performed his duties than the rest of us who spent half a day looking for the tool we threw in the corner and forgot which corner we threw it to. So in the same way, by respecting your action, respecting your tools, that's a form of attachment which cultivates efficiency for you. It brings you closer to the goal, Vivek. Not knowing where your keys are doesn't make you more efficient. It doesn't make you a greater sadhu. Now, it's of course, a greater sadhu would not have to worry about the car. He'd have a driver in a car just waiting outside the door for when he wants to go. He just said, okay, we're going now. Yes, sir. And someone would hold the keys. I knew a banker. He had a ring of keys that just wouldn't quit. It was heavy to lift the key ring. And I looked at him and I said, oh, you must be a very wealthy man to have so many things that you have to keep under lock and key. And he said, no, when I'm really a wealthy man, there will be someone standing at the door saying, hello, sir, welcome, let me open the door for you. Vivek, it's not a sign of your non-attachment to be inefficient and not to care about the things that work for you. The sign of your efficiency and your discrimination will be that you know what works for you and what doesn't. And if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to spend your time pursuing it. But if it does work for you, you want to wipe it off and put it in its proper place so you'll know exactly how to find it the next time.
We have a question from Rosie.
Namaste, Rosie Ma.
Namaste. Will you please talk about the difference between tapasya and suffering?
Yes, I will. Suffering is something that says, I don't like this. That's why I'm suffering. This is a burden to me. It's very heavy, and I'm not enjoying this procedure, whatever it may be. And Tapasya says, this is something, it may not be comfortable right now, but look how I'm growing and how I'm purifying myself and controlling my natural instincts and controlling myself and moving forward in my quest to find something greater and to become the person I love and respect the most. So Tapasya, there's a growth. It may be a sacrifice and it may become such a joy. Remember the statement in the Bhagavad Gita, those acts which begin out in pleasure, they begin to be pleasurable and comfortable and shuki, and you're happy because you're doing the action, and it ends in pain. Know that to be born of tamaguna. But those actions which begin as pain, and somebody might even say, why are you suffering like that? And they end up to be the highest bliss, the greatest joy. Those are born in sattva guna.
Tapasya is automatically bring happy and joy and love.
Tapasya automatically brings happy and joy and love. Namaste, Ruth.
We have a question from Saranya.
Namaste, Sharanya.
Are there some healthy forms of attachment, such as attachment to the guru, or is this attachment also something the spiritual aspirant will need to let go of in order to reach the goal?
We will go into nirakara, into the formless samadhi without any attachment. However, there are certain attachments that bring us to the gate. There are certain attachments which teach us how to open the lock. And there are other attachments which teach us how to open the doors. And then you leave all the attachment and you go through the door. So Sharanya, attach yourself and be happy to attach yourself to the pure and empowering. And detach yourself from the negative and from the binding. And that will set you free. And as you get more and more free, the attachments in your scope of influence will become less and less, and you'll diminish. They will diminish. The definition of guru will expand until you see that the guru who brought you to the gate is just a reflection of the guru who is on the other side.
What is the difference attachment and duty?
Duty?
Duty.
Duty and attachment. Well, that's chicken. You're chicken. You're throwing hard questions at me. Duty and attachment. Duty is an obligation which I have defined or has been defined for me by society or by circumstances. That say, you are required to perform such and such a function. Now, attachment says, I have a desire to perform this function. I'm called to perform. I have a calling. So a duty is imposed from outside, and attachment is something that comes from inside. Aham and mam, they come from the antakaran. They come from within each individual that defines, I'm attracted to this, I'm attached to this, I don't want to let go of this.
Is there some duty detached?
No duty is detached. Seva is detached. But duty is not detached. Duty, I'm obligated to perform. I don't teach my classes as a duty. I teach them as a seva. And it is an opportunity for me to enjoy the privilege of sharing my understanding and my experience with those who love and those whom I love. And we have the love affair because of this sharing of knowledge. Now that's not a duty, that's a privilege. Duty is chopping wood and carrying water, and if I don't chop the wood, you can't light the stove. And if you can't light the stove, then I can't get my dinner. So I'm going to do my duty, and I hope that you're going to do your duty, and we'll both grow together.
Yes.
Duty has an exchange involved.
Okay.
But seva is just a pure privilege for me to love you.
Shiva is giving.
Yes. Just like you get up in the morning and cook for all the hungry devotees. And you go to see the doctor with food for his entire staff, and you feed every nurse on the floor. In the same, that's seva. That's not a duty. I mean, nobody does that. You're not I pay the bill. What do you mean? I go, the doctor sends me an invoice for going to see him. It's not for free. Huh? We're not saying I'm gonna cook for you in exchange for my doctor bills. We're saying this is a privilege to Srima to show her love for everyone in the hospital. By every time she goes to any doctor, she feeds everyone on the same floor. Now, that's not a duty.
No,
That's
that's love.
love. Yeah, that's our mom. All you need is love. And she's got it. That's not your duty. That's your love. I do my duty when I pay the bill. And sometimes it really hurts. But I do my duty anyway.
We have a question from Sadhana Shakti.
Namaste, Sadhana.
Pranam. You mentioned divine tapasya is not so. You mentioned divine tapasya and not so divine tapasya.
Yep.
Can you tell us some of the not so divine tapasya so we make sure we don't continue to do it?
Yep. I sure can. I mean, that's an easy one, Sadhana. Easy for me. Because if you love your husband, that's divine tapasya. And if you love her husband, that's not so divine tapasya. Discriminate. Call your Mr. Vivek and tell him to help you discriminate which love affair is going to bring you where you want to go and which love affair is going to take you into a whole bunch of problems and confusion. So there are many other examples from the earth to the divine. Which types of behavior are going to cultivate worldly attachments and bondage and more stuff for us to deal with in the future? Not so divine. Which behaviors are going to take you to the heights of heaven, to the Pashas Chedanena, Sadashivatvam? What kind of behavior will take you to that dissolution of all the bonds of worldliness? Those are divine tapasya. So put in that karma yoga. Puja Pat, Hom, Sangit, Nrit, Pravachan, and Arpana. We've got all the karma yoga, all the kula achara, all the behaviors of excellence, all the activities which bring you to divinity. Those are the divine tapasyas. I want to do asana, pranayam, mudras, kriyas. I want to study Sanskrit. I want to study how to do well all together. Now, in derogation to the ideal, if I pursue those worldly attachments, which are going to get me into trouble when I'm discovered, and I don't want to be discovered because I'll be embarrassed because I fell down, so I'll keep covering up the discovery. I enter into a cycle of not so divine behavior, where my consciousness is constantly burdened by the activities that I've done and by the activities that I must do to keep from being discovered of what I've done, and on and on and on until there's nothing to do but cry and apologize and hope for the leniency of those who will judge me. Shakti, that's please stay away from those behaviors which are going to get you into trouble. And please pursue those behaviors which will make you divine.
She can remember her name.
Please remember your name. Ma had a good one there. Sadhana Shakti, the energy of the discipline of purifying austerities. Thank you.
We have a question from Joshua.
Namaste, Joshua.
Namaste. What can we do to see others as doing their own sort of tapasya instead of getting spiritual egotism?
Well, we want to practice and cultivate humility. The true humility says, I'm not qualified to judge you, and I'm hopeful that you won't judge me, but I'm doing my tapasya in accordance with the understanding that I have. And all that's small is innocent of its size. So can you imagine the ant going up to an elephant and saying, "Why are you so big?" Or even the elephant going to the ant and saying, "Why are you so small?" Everybody is innocent of its size. We're all products of nature. And Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Jati Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. All beings born. If you cultivate that communion with all beings born, you'll understand that every one of us is behaving according to our nature because that's our nature. And we're all innocent of our size. I can't help it if I'm short and fat. I can help a little bit, but I try to help it, but it doesn't work. Every one of us is growing according to our nature. So cultivate the humility, says, I'm not going to judge you, and I really don't need your criticism unless it's constructive and you can help me. You can show me the right way to do it. Then I'll be more than willing to listen to you or to watch you. But for you to tell me the error of my ways, I don't think that's going to be productive. Show me how to do it correctly. I'll watch with astute attention.
We have a question from Ambika.
Namaste, Ambika. Namaste, Sham.
When we see the people we love, especially our children, making bad choices in their lives, how do we stay unattached? Is offering help a form of attachment?
Oh, you are entitled to offer help, but you have some restrictions. And the restriction says that I know that my children have come here to fulfill their own karma and to fulfill their own dharma. And I can only show you an example of how I believe that what is in your best interest will become manifest. And I can request you and empower you to make the right choices, but then I have to allow my children to make their own choices, whether I like it or not. And let them understand that they will enjoy the fruit of their karma, whether they like it or not. And if it's good karma and good fruit, I will come to celebrate with them. And if it's bad karma with bad fruit, I may go bail for them once, and I may go bail for them twice. But ultimately, I'm going to say, you've expended more resources than you've added to the family. It's not prudent for me. You now will enjoy the fruit of your karma. So you raise the bail yourself. At some point in time, Ambika, we're going to have to say to our children, you have your own karma, and I'm empowering you to make your own decisions, and I pray that you choose the right things, but I'm not going to decide for you. It's your karma. You are not here to achieve the fulfillment of my goal, as so many parents would want. You have not taken birth to fulfill my karma. You have your own karma and your own dharma, and you have come to manifest your ideal of perfection, not mine. And if your ideal of perfection is behind bars in jail, namaste, I'll come and visit you.
If children say you bought me, you have a karma.
Your children can say, I did bring you, but I didn't bring you for my purpose. I brought you for your purpose. And I nurtured you for your purpose, not for my purpose. So you fulfill your karma and your dharma, and you reach the highest ideal that you can conceive. You cannot reach my ideal of perfection. I don't want you to live up to my ideal. I want you to live up to your ideal. Now, if your ideal coincides with my ideal, super, we can go together.
Right.
If your ideal is something different, then namaste.
Right.
I bow to you, I'll empower you, I'll help you, I'll do what I can for you, but you make your choices. You made your bed, now sleep in it. You make your choices yourselves, and I will do what I can to assist you, so long as it's not in derogation to my ideal. If you think that being the biggest drug dealer on the block is the highest ideal of perfection, that doesn't coincide with my ideal. I'm not going to help you achieve that goal. But if you think that being the best engineer that graduated from school is your ideal, I'll support that 100%. That's totally in accordance with my dharma. What can I do to help you achieve your goal? That will be my question. I'm going to discriminate according to my criteria. Ambika, I cannot discriminate according to my children's criteria. Their criteria will say, I want the approval of my friends and my peers. Go ahead. If that's your criteria for discrimination, go ahead and consult your friends. But we all know that the highest respect comes from not living in accordance with the attitudes prevalent in your peer group. The highest ideal comes from maintaining the ideals of the elders. People who are experienced and people who have understanding, people who have accomplishments. If they give you praise, that's worth so much more than your peer group giving you praise. Ultimately, the kids are going to make their own decisions. And we support them in making their own decisions. We may not approve of the decision, but we certainly approve of their right to choose. And if you choose the wrong thing, I'm so sorry. We have jails and prisons for people who make wrong choices. If you choose the right thing, come on over. How can I help?
We have a question from Nanda.
Namaste, Nandama.
Please tell us the difference between controlling our desires in the name of tapasya and suppressing our desires in the name of tapasya.
That's a little too psychological for me. Nanda, suppressing them means I'm putting them down and trying to deny them or disregard them or not look at them. I'm not going to deal with them. I'm going to pretend that they don't exist and they're not knocking on the door. They're not calling me. And controlling my desires means that I'm going to try to find the greatest means of expression which doesn't get me into trouble.
Right.
Is that right, Mom? Oh, thank you. My God. Thank you. Nanda, if you suppress the desire, you're going to push it down and hide it and try to put it out of sight and out of mind and deny its existence. And that's the suppression. However, if you're going to control the desire, you may express it in such a way as it brings you the divine illumination, or as divine an illumination as you can possibly do. The greatest and most prolific case in point, I believe, is sexual energy. A lot of people are faced with the dilemma of how do I express my sexuality. Even some partnerships say, well, maybe we should abstain from sexual expression because that will not bring us to our highest divinity. I don't know about that. I don't agree with it. But some people say that, even in partnerships or when you're alone. However, if you push it down and push it down and push it down and say it doesn't exist, one day it's going to find a stimulus and it's going to find an inspiration and it will exist. And you'll have to deal with it at that time. However, there are certain yogic techniques by which we create bandha. Mula bandh, a contraction of the muscles of the Muladhara. Madhyamic bandh, a contraction of the muscles of the Manipur. And Urdhva bandh, the contraction of the muscles of the Anahat. And we bring up the energy from the Muladhara and then we bring it to the Swadhisthana and make the bandh and make a contraction of the muscles. And then we bring it up from the Swadhisthana to the Manipur and we have a contraction of the muscles. And then we bring it up to the Anahat and we have a contraction of the muscles. And then we bring it up to the Agya Chakra and we up to the Sahasrara and we have Shakti in communion with Shiva and we've internalized an orgasmic. We call it ojas. It's the subtle body of semen. Semen in the gross body, ojas in the subtle body. We bring the ojas up almost like this Kundalini Shakti is bringing the ojas up to an illumination in the Agya Chakra and to a culmination of the union between Shiva and Shakti. And it's the highest union, the highest unity that we can experience. It's the most complete and full communion between Shiva and Shakti. That it is much greater an illumination and an empowerment and a freedom than the physical expression. Now, this is controlling the energy. This is controlling the desire. This is not subjugating the desire, pushing it down, hiding it, pretending it doesn't exist. I'm meeting the desire head on and I'm using yogic techniques in order to bring that energy up, 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 and it flows up until there's a prakash. We had that one in our last episode, that prakashanam. Hello, where are you? There he is. Jiva Saubhagya Prakashana. Jiva Saubhagya, the highest good fortune, the best fortune of all life is that illumination. It's Sutra number 6. Saubhagya, the excellent bhagya, the excellent fortune. The excellence of all good fortune, of all jiva, of all of life, is prakasana. That illumination, that submersion of consciousness into the fullness of that expression. That is the Saubhagya of jiva. No, Nanda, there's a difference between subjugating and hiding and pretending it doesn't exist and trying to deny the existence of desire. And by controlling desire and focusing energy and focusing attention and utilizing that energy. In my opinion, in our philosophy, there is only one energy called Shakti. There's only one Shakti. And sometimes that Shakti manifests as creative energy. Sometimes it manifests as sexual energy. Sometimes it manifests as working energy. Sometimes it manifests as mental energy. Sometimes it manifests as intellectual energy. Sometimes there's only one energy. In which ways do we pay attention to it? How do we control that energy and focus that desire so that it creates the greatest expression, which is the most positive contribution of this individual? Now that's controlling desire. There are many, many names for the different forms of desire, but it's only one energy.
Controlling desire with tapasya.
Yes, tapasya. We put all that energy into sadhana, into puja pad, jap, tap, mantra, tantra, yantra.
Follow Satchita.
Om Sat Chit Ekam Brahma. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha.
Why you finished?
Namaste.